Understanding public forum rules. What are your rights? Imagine standing in a busy park or on a city street, ready to share your thoughts or listen to others. Do you know what rules protect your right to speak freely in these spaces? Today, we're going to explore how the law protects your speech in public places and what limits might apply. Public forums are spaces owned or controlled by the government that are meant for public expression. These include streets, parks, and certain government buildings like town halls or public meeting rooms. Your rights to speak and gather in these places are protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which guarantees freedom of speech and assembly. But these rights are not unlimited and depend on the type of space you are in. There are three main types of public forums. The first is the traditional public forum, like sidewalks and parks, where your speech is most protected. The government can set rules about when and how you speak, but these rules must be fair and not based on what you say or your opinions. They can only restrict speech if they serve a significant government interest and are narrowly focused. For example, they can limit loud noises during certain hours but cannot ban your speech because of its content. The second type is designated public forums. These are spaces the government has specifically opened for public use, such as auditoriums or community meeting rooms. Your rights here are similar to those in traditional forums, but the government can restrict access to certain groups or topics if the restrictions are reasonable and not based on what you say. For instance, a city might limit use of a meeting room to residents or certain organizations, but it cannot refuse access based on your political views. The third type is non-public forums. These are government properties not meant for public expression, like military bases or airport terminals. The government can impose reasonable rules on speech here, as long as they are neutral and serve the purpose of the space. For example, they can restrict protests on a military base but cannot ban all speech because they dislike the message. When you participate in expressive activities in any public space, the government can regulate the time, place, and manner of your speech. This means they can control when and where you speak to keep public order and safety. But these rules must not target your message specifically and should leave you other ways to communicate. For example, they can ask you to move along if you block traffic but cannot stop you from speaking altogether because they disagree with your views. You have the right to peacefully gather and express your opinions in public forums. The government cannot deny you access because of your message or past activities unless strict legal standards are met. Permits or licenses for public events must be fair and not used to silence certain voices. Knowing your rights means understanding that you can speak freely in public spaces, but you also need to follow reasonable rules. If you are ever denied access or feel your speech is unfairly restricted, you might have legal options to challenge those restrictions. Being aware of these distinctions helps you stand up for your freedom of speech and assembly when you are in public spaces.